All right, so let's get into this. Today,
Yeah.
we're going to be taking a deep dive into Gato Fiero.
Right, this enigmatic figure.
And we're going to be looking at the impact his music had on one specific listener, Ray Finkle.
I think that's a great place to start because the impact was rather dramatic, wasn't it?
You might remember Ray Finkle as the former football kicker who had a pretty public and pretty spectacular fall from grace.
And through it all, he found solace in this music.
Yeah, so picture this.
Okay.
It's the 1984 championship game.
Huge stakes.
The score is tied, and it all comes down to Ray Finkle's kick.
Yeah, a moment that would define his career in a lot of ways.
The pressure is immense. The whole world is watching.
Yeah.
And he misses.
And it wasn't just a miss, right? It became this symbol, this national moment of failure that was just dissected and ridiculed by the media endlessly.
I mean, you can imagine what that would do to a person.
Psychologically devastating, I imagine.
At that level of public humiliation.
Yeah.
So our sources describe how Finkle basically retreated from the world,
Went into hiding.
just grappling with the fallout of that one defining moment.
And it's during this dark period, right, this time of isolation, that Finkle stumbles upon Gato Fiero.
Gato Fiero.
And this is where things get really interesting, because Fiero's music is entirely instrumental. There are no lyrics.
It's interesting. So it's really just pure sound.
Pure sound, no persona even, because we don't even know who Gato Fiero is.
That's true, yeah.
So you have to wonder, why would this kind of music connect with someone like Finkle, someone dealing with such intense emotional turmoil?
Well, I think that actually might be part of the reason why.
You think so?
Yeah, because I think the absence of lyrics creates a kind of blank canvas
Yeah.
where the listener can paint their own narrative.
Project their own feelings onto it.
Exactly. So Finkle could find his own meaning in the music without being told what to feel or how to interpret it.
Right, it's like a personal soundtrack to his own experience.
Exactly. And you add to that the fact that Gato Fiero is completely anonymous.
Yeah, we have no idea who they are, what they look like.
Yeah.
Nothing.
So there's no celebrity worship. There's no fandom. It's purely about the music itself.
And that must have been a breath of fresh air for Finkle, considering his own experience with fame and public scrutiny.
Right. It's like a refuge from the world.
Absolutely. And he actually describes this in his own words. He talks about how the music offered this raw honesty that resonated with his struggle, this feeling of being understood in a way that other music, even with lyrics, couldn't quite achieve.
It's like Fiero's music was speaking a language that Finkle's soul could understand.
And he wasn't just passively listening to this music, he was actively engaging with it, which we can see in his music reviews.
I love that we have this treasure trove of reviews that we can actually look into to understand what he was thinking and feeling.
Yeah, it's remarkable we get this glimpse into this very personal connection with the music.
So in these reviews, we see Finkle dissecting each album,
Right.
connecting specific musical choices to moments in his own life.
It's almost like a conversation between his internal world and the sonic landscape that Fiero created.
He even describes Sorry Not Sorry as evoking a sense of white magic.
Right.
And I don't think he means that literally.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It's more like a way of expressing how the music helped him transform pain into a sense of clarity.
It's an incredibly powerful image, isn't it, white magic?
It really is.
It suggests a kind of alchemy, turning something dark and heavy into something lighter and more meaningful.
It's beautiful.
It is, and it highlights just how unique Finkle's perspective is.
Yeah.
He's not just listening to this music for entertainment, he's seeking solace and meaning in it.
Right. He's using it as a tool for self-discovery and for healing.
Exactly. And that's really evident in his review of Downward Dog as well.
Oh, tell me about that one.
This is where Finkle refers to the album as music that sings without words.
Wow.
And he connects the enigmatic nature of that music to the complexity of his own emotions.
So it's like he's recognizing a kindred spirit in Gato Fiero, another soul grappling with the messiness of life and finding beauty in that struggle.
Finding beauty in the struggle. I love that. And maybe that's what drew Finkle to Fiero's music in the first place, this shared sense of searching for meaning in the midst of chaos.
We know that he had a pretty diverse musical background
He did, yeah.
from his reviews. But there was something about Fiero's approach, the anonymity.
Your raw emotion.
Yeah, the rawness of the instrumental compositions. It really resonated with him on this really deep level.
It's like Fiero's music provided this safe space for Finkle.
A space free of judgment.
Free of expectation, where he could just be present with his emotions and explore them without the pressure of the outside world.
And I think that's something we can all relate to.
Absolutely.
That desire for a space where we can be authentically ourselves without any filters.
Right. Fiero's music, with its anonymity and its focus on pure sound, offers that kind of space.
It's almost like a direct line to the soul, bypassing all the distractions and filters of everyday life.
Exactly. And for someone like Finkle, who had experienced such a profound and public fall from grace, that connection must have been incredibly valuable.
A lifeline.
Yeah, a lifeline.
And it's in this context that Finkle's review of A Musical Escape, a review from the Asylum, becomes even more powerful.
Oh, that's a heavy one.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Because it's a stark reminder of the depths of his despair.
Right. Remember, he's writing this from an asylum.
Literally.
A place often associated with isolation and mental anguish.
Yet even in that environment, Fiero's music became an anchor.
A lifeline.
Yeah, he writes about how the music offered him this sense of freedom,
Right.
transporting him beyond the confines of his surroundings.
Like a musical escape hatch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like the music itself created a way for him to step outside of his pain, even if just for a few moments.
And I think this speaks volumes about the power of art, to offer us solace and perspective, even in the darkest of times.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that even when everything else feels lost, there's still beauty and connection to be found.
And for Finkle, that beauty and connection resided in the music of Gato Fiero.
So we've just scratched the surface here.
Right, we have.
We're going to dive even deeper into specific examples from Finkle's reviews in the next part of our deep dive.
Yeah.
And explore how his personal experiences shaped his interpretations of Fiero's albums.
I can't wait. It's going to be an incredible exploration of how music can be a mirror to the soul, reflecting back our deepest fears, our desires, and ultimately our capacity for healing and growth.
Attuned.
Can't wait. As we go deeper into these reviews, it's really striking how Finkle's own journey of struggle and redemption almost becomes a framework for understanding Fiero's music.
Yeah, it's like he's using the music as a lens to examine his own life.
Exactly, to make sense of the chaos. And one review that really highlights this is his piece on A Musical Escape, a review from the Asylum.
Right. We talked about the context of that review earlier.
Yeah.
Finkle's at his lowest point.
Feeling completely isolated and lost.
And in that darkness, he finds this smuggled CD of Fiero's music.
Tucked into a sandwich of all things.
Of all things.
Right.
Talk about finding sustenance in the most unexpected places.
Really, and he describes how the music just filled the room, washed over him with this sense of freedom. He even writes, "For those few precious moments, I was transported out of this dreary place."
Wow.
Which speaks volumes about music's power to offer escape.
Even in the most challenging circumstances.
Exactly, and it's not that the music erased his problems or provided easy answers,
Right.
but it gave him a reprieve.
A moment to breathe.
A moment to breathe and reconnect with something beautiful.
And that's crucial, right?
Yeah.
It's not about denying the darkness or pretending everything is okay.
No, Fiero's music doesn't offer platitudes or try to sugarcoat reality.
It just meets Finkle where he is in that raw emotional space.
And I think through that connection, it allows him to experience moments of transcendence even within the confines of the asylum. It's like the music provided this crack in the darkness, allowing a sliver of light to shine through.
I love that image, the crack in the darkness, because it suggests that healing isn't always about these grand gestures or complete transformations.
Right.
Sometimes it's about those small moments of peace.
Finding those little glimmers of hope and connection amidst the chaos.
Exactly. And those moments can be so potent.
Especially for someone like Finkle, who's grappling with such intense emotional turmoil.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not just about escape either.
No, it's not.
Finkle also talks about how Fiero's music helped him confront his past and find a path toward healing.
Yes, and this is where his review of Magia Blanca, El Retorno Mágico de Gato Fiero, comes in.
White Magic, the magical return of Gato Fiero.
Yeah, this review is fascinating because Finkle really digs into the transformative power of the music and connects it directly to his own journey.
He uses that metaphor of white magic to describe how the music helped him turn his pain into clarity.
Which is an incredibly powerful image, right?
It really is.
It suggests this process of transmutation.
Taking something negative and transforming it into something positive.
Yeah, and I think that resonates with a lot of people who find solace in music. It's not about denying the pain or the darkness, but rather finding a way to channel it into something constructive, something that helps us grow.
He even writes, "Each note is a brushstroke, painting a canvas of emotions that resonated with my own journey."
Wow.
It's like he's seeing his own life reflected in the music, finding echoes of his struggles and his triumphs in the melodies and harmonies.
And that's what makes Fiero's instrumental music so powerful.
Yeah.
It creates this space for personal interpretation, allowing each listener to connect with it in their own unique way.
It's like a conversation between the music and the listener, a shared exploration of emotions and experiences.
And that leads us to Finkle's review of Downward Dog,
Oh, yeah.
where he dives into the album's enigmatic nature, calling it music that sings without words,
I love that.
connecting its complexity to the whirlwind of emotions he was experiencing at the time.
It's like he recognized a kindred spirit in Fiero,
Right.
someone who understood the depths of human emotion and wasn't afraid to explore them through their art.
And it wasn't just the emotional depth that resonated with Finkle. He also praised Fiero's decision to remain anonymous.
Oh, yeah.
He saw it as a form of artistic bravery.
Which is so interesting because in a world that's so obsessed with celebrity and persona, Fiero's anonymity is almost a radical act.
It is. It forces us to focus solely on the music, on the raw expression of emotion without any distractions.
Exactly. And for Finkle, who was so disillusioned with the public eye after his own very public fall from grace,
Right.
Fiero's anonymity must have been so appealing. It allowed him to connect with the music on a purely artistic level without any of the baggage of image or expectation.
It's like Fiero was saying, this isn't about me, it's about you, the listener, and what you take away from this experience.
And for Finkle, that experience was one of profound healing and transformation.
And this brings us to a fascinating question.
What's that?
How does the anonymity of an artist affect our perception and connection to their work?
It's a great question. Do we experience music differently when we know nothing about the person who created it?
It's hard to say for sure, but I do think there's something to be said for the purity of experiencing art without that filter of the artist's persona. It allows us to connect with the work on a more primal, instinctual level.
Right. It's like we're able to tap into that raw emotion, the essence of the creative impulse, without any preconceived notions.
And in a way that mirrors Finkle's own journey.
How so?
Well, he had to shed his former identity, the baggage of his past, in order to find a new path forward.
Yeah.
And perhaps by embracing Fiero's anonymity, he was also embracing the possibility of his own reinvention of shedding the weight of public perception and rediscovering himself through music.
That's a powerful idea.
It is.
That we can find freedom and healing by letting go of who we think we are and embracing the transformative power of the present moment.
Absolutely. And Finkle's story, his connection with Fiero's music, is a testament to that very idea.
So next up, we're going to explore Finkle's review of How I'd Turn Back If I Were You.
Oh, yes.
This album seems to be a pivotal point in his journey.
The turning point.
Yeah, the moment where he fully embraces the transformative power of art and finds a sense of hope for the future.
I can't wait to hear what insights he gleaned from that particular album and how he connects it to his own experiences.
So we've been exploring how Ray Finkle, a man grappling with, public failure and personal turmoil, found solace and meaning in the music of Gato Fiero.
Yeah, his story is so compelling.
And there's this one album review that I think really crystallizes this connection for me.
Which one?
Is How I'd Turn Back If I Were You Transformed Lives.
Oh, yeah, that's a powerful one.
It really is. It's like this album and this review become the culmination of Finkle's journey with Fiero's music.
You can really feel the weight of his journey in that review.
You can, and you see him wrestling with these huge ideas of redemption, transformation, and the very possibility of a future after, such a devastating fall.
And he doesn't shy away from the darkness, does he?
He doesn't. He calls this album a revelation, saying it redefined his understanding of music's power to heal.
Wow.
Which is a huge statement.
That's a bold claim.
It is. But when you read the review, you understand where he's coming from.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating is how he draws this direct parallel between the album's themes and his own experience.
Right.
He writes, "This music is more than sound. It's a bridge, one that carried me from who I was to who I could become."
That's beautiful.
It really is. It's like Fiero's music provided this pathway for Finkle to step out of the shadow of his past and envision a new future, a future that he may have thought was impossible after that fateful kick.
It's like the music gave him permission to hope again.
Yeah, and it's not just about moving on, it's about transformation.
Right.
Finkle talks about how the compositions on this album challenged him to confront his past.
Yeah.
Not to shy away from it, but to actually face it head on.
And then use that confrontation to fuel his growth.
Exactly. It takes incredible courage to not only face your demons, but to use them as a source of strength.
Absolutely. It's like Fiero's music gave him the tools to rebuild his life brick by brick.
And the most inspiring part is that he didn't keep this experience to himself.
No, he shared it with the world through his writing.
It's like he was saying, look, I found solace and hope in this music. Maybe you can too.
There's a real generosity in that.
Yeah.
A willingness to be vulnerable and share his journey in the hopes that it might help others who are struggling.
And that speaks to the power of art to create connection, to remind us that we're not alone in our struggles.
Absolutely. So we've explored Finkle's journey, his connection with Fiero's music, and the profound impact it had on his life. But what about the music itself?
Right. What is it about Gato Fiero's work that makes this kind of deep, transformative experience possible?
Well, I think we've touched upon this throughout our deep dive.
Yeah.
The anonymity, the lack of lyrics,
Yeah.
the raw emotion of those instrumental compositions, all of those elements create a space for personal interpretation.
Right. It allows the listener to project their own experiences and emotions onto the music.
Exactly. It's like Fiero's giving us the building blocks, and we, the listeners, get to construct our own meaning, our own narratives.
I love that. It's not about passively consuming the music, it's about actively engaging with it.
And allowing it to shape us and to transform us.
Exactly. And I think that's a beautiful way to think about it.
It is. And perhaps that's the ultimate takeaway from Ray Finkle's story. He shows us that music can be more than just entertainment.
Right.
It can be a catalyst for healing, for growth, and for self-discovery.
A bridge that carries us from the darkness into the light.
And with that thought in mind, I encourage you, dear listener, to seek out the music of Gato Fiero. Explore those sonic landscapes, lose yourself in the melodies, and see where the journey takes you.
You might be surprised by what you discover about yourself, about the world around you, and about the power of music to connect us all. Until next time, keep exploring, keep listening, and keep believing in the power of art to transform